In the heart of the Verdant Valley, where mist clung to the ferns each morning, lived Desmond the Deer, a magnificent stag with antlers like polished branches. Desmond the Deer moved with a grace that made the wind itself seem clumsy. His coat was the warm brown of rich earth, dappled with sunlight that filtered through the trees. Desmond the Deer was known for his cautious nature and his incredible hearing. No snap of a twig, no rustle of a leaf escaped Desmond the Deer's sensitive ears. The deer herd relied on Desmond the Deer and the other watchful stags to keep them safe. One early morning, as the first pale light of dawn began to paint the sky, Desmond the Deer was on watch. The air was still and cool, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp soil. Desmond the Deer stood perfectly still, a statue carved from shadows and silence. His large, dark eyes scanned the edges of the clearing where the deer herd rested. Suddenly, Desmond the Deer's ears swiveled, catching a faint sound, almost too soft to hear. It was a padded footfall, stealthy and deliberate, coming from the dense thicket to the east. Desmond the Deer's nostrils flared, testing the air. A faint, musky scent. Predator. It was not the scent of Winston the wolf and his pack. This was something different, perhaps a lone hunter. Desmond the Deer knew he had to alert the deer herd without causing a panic that might scatter them foolishly. Young fawns were still asleep beside their mothers, trusting in the safety of the deer herd. The deer elder, an old stag with a wise, calm gaze and antlers worn smooth with age, was also resting. Desmond the Deer could snort loudly, a sharp alarm call. But that might startle the fawns too much and reveal their exact location too quickly. Desmond the Deer needed a signal, a way to communicate danger with quiet urgency. Desmond the Deer remembered watching the rabbits. When one sensed danger, it would thump its hind leg. Desmond the Deer remembered the birds. A specific change in their calls could warn of a hawk. Desmond the Deer thought about the deer herd's own signals. A flick of a white tail meant follow me. A lowered head and a soft grunt could mean all is calm. But for immediate, silent danger? The stealthy footsteps came closer. Desmond the Deer could now see a flicker of tawny fur through the undergrowth. A cougar. The cougar was low to the ground, muscles bunched, preparing for a silent stalk. Time was running out. Desmond the Deer took a deep, silent breath. Instead of a loud snort, Desmond the Deer began to move, but not in flight. Desmond the Deer took a few high, stiff-legged steps, a gait called stotting or pronking. It was an unusual movement, almost like a dance. Desmond the Deer lifted all four hooves off the ground simultaneously, his white tail held high and flared. 1, 2, 3, 4 deliberate, bouncy steps, each one higher than the last. The movement was conspicuous, designed to be seen. The other deer in the deer herd, sensing something unusual, began to stir. The does lifted their heads, their ears pricked forward. The deer elder opened its wise eyes, instantly alert. They saw Desmond the Deer's strange, almost joyful leaps. But they also saw the tension in Desmond the Deer's body, the intense focus in his eyes. This was not a playful dance, this was a signal. The deer elder knew this display well. It meant I see danger, and I am fit and ready to flee. The hunter has been spotted. The cougar, seeing Desmond the deer's display, paused. The element of surprise was lost. The cougar knew that a deer that stots is advertising its fitness, its ability to outrun a predator. Chasing such an alert and agile deer would be a waste of precious energy. The deer elder rose silently, and with a subtle nod, signaled the deer herd to move. Does gently nudged their fawns to their feet? There was no panicked stampede, just a quiet, swift withdrawal into the deeper, safer parts of the forest. Desmond the deer performed a few more high leaps, keeping the cougar's attention. The white flash of Desmond the deer's tail was a beacon for the retreating deer herd. The cougar watched for a moment longer, then, with a frustrated flick of its own tail, melted back into the thicket. The hunt was over before it began. Desmond the deer waited until the last fawn was safely away. Then, with one last look towards the thicket, Desmond the deer turned and bounded gracefully after the deer herd. Desmond the deer found them in a sun-dappled grove, already beginning to graze peacefully. The deer elder approached Desmond the deer, its gaze filled with approval. Your vigilance and quick thinking saved many today, Desmond the deer elder rumbled softly. You used the ancient language of our kind, the dance of warning. Desmond the deer dipped his magnificent antlers in a modest gesture. Desmond the deer hadn't needed a loud roar or a terrifying charge. Desmond the deer had used the deer's own unique way of communicating, a display of agility and awareness. It was a silent alarm, understood by both prey and predator. The young fawns, now awake and curious, gathered around Desmond the deer. They didn't know the full extent of the danger they had escaped. But they sensed the respect the deer herd held for Desmond the deer. Desmond the deer felt a quiet pride, not in his strength, but in his watchfulness and his connection to the deer herd. As the sun climbed higher, bathing the verdant valley in golden light, Desmond the deer stood tall. Desmond the deer knew that the safety of the deer herd depended on every member being alert and understanding the subtle signals of the wild. And Desmond the deer, the graceful stag, would always be ready to perform the dance of the dawn light, a silent promise of protection. The rustling leaves now sounded like soft applause for Desmond the deer. The deer herd grazed on, secure in the knowledge that watchful eyes like Desmond the deer's kept them safe.